Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hands Across the Water, the multi-generational, multi-continental Beatles and solo podcast. I am one of your three co-hosts, Andy Nicholes, and joining me, as always, on Hands Across the Water, is Beatly Tone. Hello, Tony.
Hi, Andy. Hello, Kyle. Hello, everyone.
Hello. And just a little closer across the water, the Hand on the Run. Hi, Kyle.
The Hand Across the Hudson, yes.
That's right. That's right. And as always, nothing is off the table here on Hands Across the Water. And if there's been breaking news, there's been a lot of it lately. 1-to-1 what? Now anthology. We haven't even had a chance to do a proper deep dive episode, which is what we do here on Hands Across the Water, because the Beatles news cycle has just been nonstop. And of course, I had to get my two brothers from another mother to chime in on all good things anthology related. It's 2025, but we've got those 1995 vibes all over again. Kyle, you weren't even born yet. What do you think, man?
I'm feeling alive in 2025. 1995 is in the air. I guess the Beatles are a little behind. I think that the style right now is like the Y2K era, baggy jeans and everything. But if the Beatles want to try and relive 1995, I'm totally here for it. I'm excited to break down what are we getting, what are we not getting, should we be grateful to a corporation or not?
Or not, right? We will get to that as we go throughout the episode. Tony and I, of course, lived through this period 30 years ago, and we'll dive down through that, of course, as we get to it. But it's been an exciting few weeks. I mean, you just turn your head 1 minute, you've got an announcement. Now, we knew this was probably coming. Anthology was the long-rumored project, according to Beatly Tone's channel. I mean, when he did that video it was a few weeks ago.
4 months ago. It was I looked it up. It was 4 months ago. 4 months ago.
You know, so if you're a follower of Beatles news, you can't be too surprised that this is coming. However, we know that it is coming out, and Volume 4 is being included, but you can't buy it on its own. It's bundled in a box, and it's got a bunch of tracks we already have on Super Deluxe Editions. We've got a grand total of 13 songs we haven't gotten before. Tony, is that the number we came up with, right?
I think it is, yeah. If you don't count the ones that came on that copyright dump,
right?
Which I don't really count because they were just for streaming, right?
They are, but we'll get to that later in the episode. That was an Apple sanctioned thing, and you can still get it on iTunes. Kyle, I mean, I went live with Tony on his channel. Let me just have your thoughts, on the release, the marketing of it, and then we'll dive into it properly. What's on it and what's not.
All right. Well, thankfully, we're past the point where we're discussing people using words that, are not necessarily part of their culture. Regardless, I'm still going to say this is bollocks. Tony, if I can have your blessing.
Bollocks.
I
just want
No, I'm just messing around.
I love you.
All right, so you're not happy with this release. Why?
I'm anti-anthology in general.
Oh my God. See, I knew this was going to happen because this kid was not born for it, and that's okay. But he wasn't alive for it. I mean, so I really want to just understand this view from your point of view, why you're not into it. Like, you look at these three double CDs. First of all, you probably didn't even hear them as CDs. You probably streamed them. So, like, why are you anti-anthology?
Okay, so I mentioned before many times that I adore the format of the box set. As somebody that loves music, as somebody that loves history, this is the perfect marriage of those two interests for me. And then I guess kind of a hat on the hat meta take on this is that I love the history of the box set as well, right? It took a while for them to start repurposing whether original, unheard material or stuff that was previously released in box sets. It took a while for them to figure out the proper format to release it. I think Dylan's Biograph was kind of the first real major set 60s star to have an anthologistic I don't know if that's a word release of his music. And I think that since then, they've worked out a lot of the kinks about how to present this music that doubles as historical material. And I think that Anthology is just kind of that first wave of box sets where it's kind of just an unorganized, jumbled mess. Aside from it obviously being in chronological order, save for Anthology 4.
Right.
It's just, I don't think that it's, okay, sorry, let me slow down. I also appreciate, similar to Biograph, how important it was to people like you, to the progression of these box sets and how we got to where we are now. But it's just kind of like 1.0. It's like using an old Macintosh computer or something instead of what we have now. I think that the format that the Lennon camp has now of the evolution mixes,
Sure.
not that that's something that Anthology can be, but I'm saying that's like the bar is so high, right? And I think just the last thing I'll say is just the simple format of like, here's the album, here's the outtakes, instead of this like career spanning.
But I think that the Apple and the Beatles had to get to that point, right? You know, in the mid 90s, you're talking about a fan base that was insatiable for product. We wanted product so damn bad. I mean, from 1977, 78 until 1994, that's a dry period of Beatles product, okay? Because of lawsuits.
You can even go back further than that, because if you think about getting new material, right, you can go back to Let It Be, right? We're talking about actual new material. 7 years later, you get the Hollywood Bowl album, okay? And then nothing new until 1994, as you said, Andy.
Not a thing. Sure, there was reissues and there were, you know, like 20 greatest hits and these kind of crappy compilations that were
new.
But nothing good. Love songs, real music, all these things that dropped, okay, which were just rebranding and repackaging material that we had. The sessions were going to come out in the early 80s, and the Beatles put the stop to that, where you were going to get Leave My Little Kitten Alone. That was going to come out bona fide around 85-ish, and that was squashed. That was the closest we had to it. So 1994 comes, Live at the BBC comes out, and I think that was the tester of the marketplace saying, can Beatles product survive? Because everybody thought that was going to be like, wow, this is going to be something new. And it was the BBC material, which we snapped up and we loved it at the time. And I think that the success of that project was then, okay, well, Anthology is already full bore on. We're going to drop this. And I understand your point, because you have grown up in a world where this material has been available at your fingertips. So I understand it's hard for you to understand that perspective of Tony and myself, where we didn't have anything. And you're looking at the Anthology as we now with the box sets, which are so comprehensive, right? And we can even look back at Anthology and go, wow, that's a really cut and paste job on a lot of tracks. And there were edits here. When now that we've got the super deluxes, we can look back 30 years and go, wow, you know, this could have been done a lot better. But at the time, it was hysteria all over again. It was like Beatlemania overload. And if I like to quote my dad here with the excitement of that, when Free as a Bird came out, he says, if you're this excited for this song, this is how it felt every time a Beatles song or an album came out, every single time. So
So Tony, do you want to add something? Then we'll kick it back to me.
Yeah, take it from your perspective.
Just a couple of things. So in between that Hollywood Bowl or the Let It Be Hollywood Bowl, there were a couple of things that did come out that were new, like the Star Club Hamburg, and in the early 80s, the Complete Silver Beatles, which was the Decca auditions, but they weren't Apple sanctioned projects. And even those coming out, and even though Apple tried to stop them, that didn't encourage them to put anything new our way. Other labels were doing that. But getting back to Anthology, I mean, I can remember the excitement of hearing Free as a Bird for the first time. It was really emotional. It was really emotional to hear John on a record with the other three, which would have been obviously it's the first new record that I'd heard, first new song that I'd heard since I became a fan in 1976. So that was a long wait. That was a long wait, and I just absolutely loved the anthology albums and the series. I played them to death when they came out. I couldn't wait for the next. When one came out, I couldn't wait for two. When two came out, I couldn't wait for three. And I still maintain that I think that the best outtakes that we've had, there may be one or two exceptions to the rule, but generally the best outtakes that are out there are on anthology. I don't think there's too much that's come out in those box sets that have been better than what we got in anthology. I know we got a lot of stuff from the White Album box set, so maybe that is the exception to the rule. But whether it was better than what we already, we got lots of Isha demos on anthology,
right?
Never heard before, and so generally, I don't think there's been too much in those sessions LPs that have come out that have been better than what we had on anthology. And it's really one thing that I want to say about the announcement and the shift in people's attitudes towards anthology. So when we dropped the video and here and on my channel, we talked about the a forthcoming announcement when they did the little teaser, the 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Everyone was really up for it, right? There were lots of positive comments about the forthcoming anthology. It was only once we announced what was actually going to be on it and the way that Apple were distributing it, that the whole tide changed, and it was as if Apple snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
So let's hold off on the release itself just for a beat, because I want to respond to a couple of the great points that you guys made. So first, rewind the tape. One of my points in my verbal diarrhea that gracefully opened the show was that I appreciate the historical importance of the anthology release itself. And like you said, we would not get to where we are today if it wasn't for those monumental releases. But the thing is, I think that's where I'm most interested in it. In hearing the stories of you guys that experienced this as it came out, hearing Free as a Bird and Real Love, especially seeing it premiere on cable must have been so cool. Now I'm gonna have to wait for Disney Plus to load, and there's no
not even cable, broadcast television.
Exactly.
What was it, ABC for you guys?
A Beatles C, as they dubbed themselves that way.
So
we
that's
had it
special.
on ITV, which was a terrestrial channel.
Exactly. It was not cable. It was terrestrial television in in the UK and in America. Continue, Kyle.
Yeah, so I think that my main gripe with it is really not even a problem of Apple's or really anybody's problem. I got to cite our friend that we met at the fest. Well, we've known him, but Mazzy. So he said in his video that the problem is the way that the Beatles worked. Because the reason that you're able to have such amazing Dylan bootleg series editions that really stand on their own is because Dylan is a freak, and he will fully finish a whole album of songs and then just not release them. You can have multiple LPs of unreleased material for any one album that he did, but that's really not the case for the Beatles. So when we get kind of these these forming songs, I'm trying to think of the word, these songs in the making, it's just kind of interesting, which is so interesting. You don't have to convince me that they're interesting, but they never are a full addition to the catalog in the way that they could be, you know? So that's why it's kind of just like interesting. And then it's, you know, I don't go back to it.
Well, when you're comparing the Beatles and the Dylan, first of all, it's one guy basically running the show, and the Beatles, with 7 years of professional recorded activity, in which touring took up a lot of their time. Like, I just think they didn't have the same approach to stockpiling material and sitting on it and then working through stuff. I mean, they didn't have the time to do that stuff in the 60s as a group, especially when they were touring. I mean, maybe when they became just strictly in the studio, you could apply that. But Dylan is such a, you know, he's his own guy, right? So he can spend all the time he wants and record 16 different versions and 16 different keys of all his songs and release one version. And then, because he's one guy, the Beatles as a conglomerate, you know, as a machine, just didn't have the time to sit on that stuff. They had to record it, they had to get it out, tour, and move on to the next thing. The
collaboration aided them, but also limited them in certain ways.
Right.
But I think that not just to use Dylan as like a counterexample, I think that the BBC recordings is a great example of, like, I feel like that's like almost a standalone live album for them. But again, that's just nobody's fault. That's just really goes down to like the, you know, the UK's laws of live performance, that you couldn't play too much recorded music on the radio. There had to be like a quota of live.
Right, Tone?
Tone? I just wanted to just talk about Dylan just for a sec, because I'm not, you know, I'm not interested in Dylan's outtakes. I've got all these albums from the 60s and 70s, but I don't know too much about the unrecorded. I've got some unrecorded, some outtakes. I've got the Don't Look. Is it called Don't Look? But no.
No Direction Home.
No Direction Home. No Direction Home. But so the first album, the Bob Dylan album. What was the second one? Another Side Of. Was that the second album? I can't remember.
No, that's like the fourth side. That's like the fourth album. The second is Freewheelin'.
Freewheelin'. So did he have lots of outtakes from that, as those two albums as well? When people, you know, when CBS or you know, they didn't know that he was like going to be a big deal.
That's a good point.
Because
maybe not.
That's how it is for the Beatles. You know, Please Please Me. When they recorded it, you know, they were an unknown band. They weren't going to have a lot of money invested in them before they knew that they were going to be a success. When they were recording that album, you know, we know that they recorded it in a day, and they didn't preserve tape after tape after tape. They did a take and it went wrong. They rewound the tape and started it again and recorded over it, and that's why there's not.
There's not as much in the Beatles canon in the early days as there are later. Now with Dylan, I mean, you could even look at the Whitmark demos, right? I
was thinking that too, but that's kind of more equivalent to the Beatles, you know, demos or whatever that we are getting. Kind of like they're not like the fully finished songs that we would get in like another Self-Portrait.
Right. So if like Tony's comparing the beginning of Dylan's career to the Beatles' career, how much are we scraping the barrel to get from before they, you know, the world knew that Bob Dylan was going to become Bob Dylan and the Beatles were going to become the Beatles. So that's why probably you have to look at that's why you look at like the bootleg recordings of 1963 as a copyright dump, but there they are. It's out there. So it's just how much, you know. But
yeah, so I don't know. I think that another point that you made in terms of like what I grew up with, I was getting into the Beatles and solo Beatles in 2018, but when the White Album box set came out on streaming, everything changed. I just went straight off the deep end, became totally obsessed. So that's kind of my anthology, and then the subsequent album releases or box set releases to come out.
Like that was your like Nirvana moment of like, oh my God, I'm diving in and I'm never going to come out for like months.
So that's almost where my anthology prejudice comes from. That I'm like, I have this beautifully organized, complete work of the White Album. Like, why do I need anthology?
Why do I need anthology when I have a 6 CD set streaming that's so comprehensive of this one tremendous album, when I can look at this hodgepodge of double CDs that are kind of incomplete and fragmented?
with talking tracks, and a lot of the recordings are not great. Which
but you've got the discs on Anthology 1 and most of on Anthology 2 that aren't covered by the box sets that we've had so far.
No, you make a good point. I just think that here's the thing. Anthology totally rewards a kind of like slow and I don't know about like methodology. It rewards some like thinking about it a little bit more and going in kind of not sure what you're going to get, not knowing where you are. I mean, it's chronological. I'm just saying, what I'm trying to say is that as time went on, they really mastered the presentation of the material that Anthology doesn't do. And so to somebody that had that first, it's kind of just like overwhelming and a bit confusing of like, what is this? What am I listening to? And that if you do that, it really rewards you. I'm not saying it's like bad or in any way. It's just kind of harder to get your arms around.
I agree with that because, it's how you're looking at this whole presentation now and you're like, how do I get to use your words, how do I get my arms around this whole thing when, when you've got what you have now? I get that. But let's not forget that the Anthology was a project that goes all the way back to the end of the Beatle days with Neil Aspinall
along a winding road,
wanting to put something together. So this had sat in the Beatles kind of crypts for many, 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 many years, but all the legal stuff stopped it from happening. So finally, I mean, really, it's as we know now. I mean, George kind of agreed to it because he was in need of money because he got ripped off from his manager and basically said, okay, I'll do it now. Which, I mean, that's the bare bones facts of the whole matter that, maybe does the Anthology even happen if George doesn't figure out that he's getting ripped off? I mean, and then he says, okay, I'll go ahead and do it. So there's like the real life aspect of like this project that when it comes down to it, money and cents. So I get, it's sobering, but I mean, I view the Anthology as a thank you to the Beatle fans that hung in there and waited and waited and waited and waited. You had Lewison's recording sessions coming out. Now you read that, and now you could take Lewison's recording sessions book, and when you're reading about these takes, you can go back to the Anthology and go, that's what he was talking about on this take of Strawberry Fields Forever. Like it just rewarded the longtime fan that was hanging around waiting for product. And that's the best way I could describe it for those that were there at the time in the, broadcast television, no internet, like huge fucking deal. It was.
I'm with it. I again, important reminder, if it's not obvious, I co-host a Beatles and solo podcast with my two buddies. So there's really no, Beatles release there that I totally just like, turn my nose up at. I love Anthology. I just think it's a little bit more like you're kind of digging through it to find the little nuggets of gold there. And it just requires.
I mean, not everything is on it. It's brilliant, but the idea of it is to tell the story because it's a kind of an accompaniment to the series, isn't it?
True.
It is. Let me just share.
And that's why you've got the little bits of speech on it. I know we could do without them.
Right. Let me just share this. Let me share this video real quick with everybody, and just to give you a sample of the excitement that we all felt in this period.
Night. The wait is over. The most powerful band of all time tell their personal story in their own words and music, from their roots in Liverpool to their biggest conquest of all, America.
The Beatles!
And later tonight, for the first time in 25 years, the Beatles come together with an all-new song, Free as a Bird, on the Beatles Anthology.
I just got goosebumps again. I just freaking got goosebumps again. Jeez.
That's so cool.
Oh.
I love it.
Do you remember that feeling, Tony?
I do remember. I couldn't wait once I knew it was happening, and I think I might have known that it was happening via Mark Lewison because he used to write the news section in the reprinted Beatles monthlies that I used to get like every month, and so I knew it was coming, and I couldn't wait.
Is there such a thing?
I actually believed that it was actually happening until I actually heard it.
Mm. Is there such a thing as nostalgia envy? Because that's what I have. I'm like very, very jealous that I didn't get to experience that. That seems like the cool thing about it, that communal experience.
Yeah. Well, it definitely makes you less cool.
No.
As if I need any help with that.
But you do look very handsome today. Let me caveat it with that.
I did do something different with my hair. Thank you.
No, but it's very. I'm always interested in the Gen Zer take on a project like this who did not live through it, and now you grew up in streaming in the digital era, and you look at these albums, and you're like, okay, they're once and done listens, but you could appreciate how they evolved and the point that they got to and how they were celebrated. But with 30 years hindsight, how does this anniversary and what it brings now? I mean, what does it bring to the table for, a fan now? Okay, same thing, rehash. I mean, maybe the songs will sound a little bit better, remixed and things like that.
Well, that seems like a good segue to talk about this 30th anniversary release, because did you mean remix? Well, yes, the new tracks were remixed, but I was hoping that like the actual outtakes or Decca auditions would get like the maltreatment and the remix. That seems like the biggest missed opportunity.
Big time.
I didn't read the fine print at first, and I was like, okay, there's only 13 like actually never heard before tracks. That's kind of disappointing, but at least we're gonna get this whole thing in, like with new ears. And it turns out we're not.
Yeah, I mean, some people out there, a friend of the show, our friend Nick Syrett, has noticed there are some. He thinks that there's some maltreatment to some of this material. I haven't listened that closely to it enough yet. I mean, because they're all three are available streaming now, the remasters. So, have you sampled any of it, Kyle?
No, I didn't realize that it was already on streaming.
They're up. The remasters, all three albums are up.
Why would they do that?
I don't know.
But they are up now.
It's really weird that.
Did you guys listen? Is it a difference?
I haven't listened to it yet, but I did speak to Nick a couple of hours ago, and he was telling me about the various differences between the new Anthology 1, 2, and 3 and the old one. And there are quite a few. For example, now, as we know, some of the tracks that have appeared on the sessions in the box sets are songs that were originally on the anthology, right? On the sessions albums, they have been remixed, and rather than being a straight copy of a remix of something that was on anthology, they added like little bits of studio chat or an extended ending or something like that on the sessions LP. So they were the same take that appeared on anthology, but a slightly different track length because they had the studio chat or the extended ending and the fact that they've been remixed. You play one against the other and you can hear that the track on the sessions LPs of the box sets sounds way better than it did on anthology back in the 90s. And one thing that they've done is that they've taken those sessions versions, so the better versions that were remixed, and shortened them back down to anthology length. So they replicate exactly what was on anthology back in the day. So if what I'm saying is, if it just make it more simple, if it was 3 minutes 5 on anthology and it ended up being 3 minutes 15 on the sessions of Revolver, back on this anthology it will be the 315 version but edited down to 305 or 310, whatever. I understand.
Yeah. So you're saying that there was a big difference there.
Yeah. So those will definitely sound different. I'm pretty sure that is what they've done. But there's other things as well that have been mentioned when someone A and B'd them.
Yes.
You know, different things like drums being taken off of that'll be the day or something like that.
Oh, they're removing stuff again?
I don't know because
Okay.
I haven't listened.
Well,
this is word of mouth that I'm talking about now, so maybe it's best not to go too deep into it. So
I got a question for you guys. So I am, to put cards on the table, I am lukewarm about this release. I'm not going to buy it. I would be more likely to buy the Power to the People box sets. Kind of holding out to see if Paul releases announces something in the next month or so. I'm excited to stream the extra tracks. I'm most excited about the remastered film series, which we'll talk about. But according to you guys, like, what's the positive? What makes you excited about this anniversary edition?
Well, the 4K upgrade that's going to be of the whole documentary, and this 9th episode. You know, I'm more excited in the video content than the audio. If I'm being perfectly honest, Volume 4 will be nice to hear those 13 tracks for the first time, but the upgraded film for 4K and that 9th additional episode and what that's going to encompass of the three Beatles working together in the 90s. That's what I'm looking forward to the most out of this project. The audio aspect leaves me lukewarm. And Tony and I talked about this on his live stream. Like, we're excited, but we're not like, oh my God, like, you know, let's do cartwheels down the hill, you know, kind of thing. Like, lukewarm is a great way to, I think we're all maybe a lukewarm about it. Like, excited, but we're not like, you know, rah about it. Would you agree, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not anywhere near as excited about this as I am about Power to the People. That I am really, really looking forward to.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get my hands on that. But
Now,
there are, like you say, episode 9 of the series sounds great. I just hope it's, you know, a good length. It's a good length, and I don't want that stuff of them playing ukuleles in the garden at Friar Park, or them doing, you know,
thinking of linking.
No, yeah, thinking of linking. The song that they did in the studio with Ringo on drums, the old one. What's it called? Blue Moon of Kentucky.
Yeah,
they did that in the studio. The three. I'm not interested in that. We've seen all that. It's been on YouTube for years. What I want to see is footage of them working on Free as a Bird, Real Love, and Now and Then. That's what I want to see.
Those 3 songs, yeah.
That's what I want that episode to be. I know there's going to be a little bit of, you know, Ringo turning up at Friar Park and Paul turning up at Friar Park or whatever. When they met up for the first time, of course they're going to include that. But mainly I want musical content and see them working on Free as Bird, see how they did it, how they integrated John's vocal with the new parts that the band recorded. That's what interests me. Obviously, you know, seeing the rest of the series in much improved quality is great. You know what we're like as a fan base. We'll moan about everything, and people are even moaning about the fact that it's on Disney Plus. But you know, there's not. I don't really understand what the beef is with Disney Plus, because there's no contract with Disney Plus. You do it month by month. So
that's it.
The thing drops on the 26th of November, or it starts dropping. I think it's doing 3 episodes at a time.
Yeah,
that's 3 on 26th of November, and then the next couple of days after that, you get 3 more each day. But so you pay for a month. It costs you, you know, £7 or £8, $10, whatever that is, you know, and then you cancel it if you don't want to stream, you know, you don't want Disney Plus. You just
obviously people want to own it. I think that's why they're upset.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is with owning it, I don't think the Blu-ray, as far as visual content, is a dead format yet, but I think it's dying.
It is. I mean, I own the Anthology DVD box set. I can't tell you the last time I popped that thing in.
No.
I watched it with the MVP to show her maybe a year or 2 ago to watch it with her. But I can't tell you the last time I actually popped in a DVD to watch this. So, like, I'm being honest. If it's streaming, I'm happy with that. and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I kind of am too. I mean, we do subscribe to Disney Plus, but so I like the fact that I can. I just put it on without actually getting off the sofa.
Pretty much. Now,
I'm pro DVD, just for the record.
And I'm going to take both stands. I'm going to take both sides because yes, you want to have it physically in case it's pulled, right? Nobody likes just having having to kowtow to the almighty subscription gods because they can pull it from you. So that's why eventually we got the Got Back, DVD release about a year or so after. Finally, the Beatles fan base wanted it. And I think that probably will happen with the anthology. I will probably get it, and I will probably I'll probably play it once, and it'll sit. Because, I mean, how often do you have time to actually watch, an 8 to 10 hour documentary and pull it up the shelf? I mean, Kyle, would you buy it?
I would buy it just because I can be kind of a snob about like the quality and stuff. I feel like streaming on Disney Plus is kind of akin to streaming on Spotify. Like, I think the difference is probably less noticeable, but I think that like a nice like 4K UHD, like the picture quality is like incredible, and I really enjoy that. But yeah, I get your point about just the rewatch value of it. So.
I mean, I would definitely buy it if it comes out on Blu-ray. I would definitely buy it.
Of course,
but I'll own it. But if it's still on Disney Plus, I'll probably still watch it. I'll still probably watch it on Disney Plus.
Yes, 1,001%.
That's funny.
One more thing on what's missing before we maybe pivot to
and,
the remix.
And sorry, let me just caveat that by saying, unless there's something extra on the Blu-ray that's not being shown on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
That could be. No, I was just going to say, I think the big miss is Kyle hinted at. The big miss on this project is not using the Mal stuff to improve, in spite of all the danger, and That'll Be the Day, and those early Liverpool tracks. That would have been amazing to hear.
And the live tracks as well. They could have really improved those as well. And even something like the Decca auditions could have sounded better with a remix. But
go ahead.
According to what Nick sent us, that they're saying that there has been some Mal intervention.
Maybe.
I just thought that would qualify it as a remix. Remix.
I don't know what. I mean, the Mal thing is the separation of the tracks.
Yeah.
Right, because all that stuff in Liverpool is just recorded on one track.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So and it's the same. It's the same for the Star Club tapes. I know they're not included as part of that, but that was just recorded on a reel-to-reel tape recorder. So I don't know how much whether Mal can separate everything when it's that basic. I understand when they're taking it from a mixing console.
He did it with John's Now and Then cassette demo, and that was the same way.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. But definitely, if they'd remixed everything, that would have been a big boost because they could have made everything else that was on Anthology sound like the tracks that were on Anthology on the Sessions LP.
Yeah.
Because they sound great. They sound really sharp.
I'd like to make a confession going off that. So, it's a dangerous game.
Keep it clean.
My backup confession. I think it's dangerous to play the game of like should have, would have, could have. Our fantasies of what the Beatles camp can do is always so much greater than what they actually do. And like Tony's mentioned in the past, like that's just our own expectations setting ourselves up for disappointment. With that said, if they had remixed these older demos and studio takes, added a couple odds and ends here and there, and like you said, Tony, the first disc and most of the second disc are stuff pre-Pepper, Super Deluxe box
sets, right?
I would have been content for this to end the Super Deluxe series.
Ooh.
I would have been content with never getting Rubber Soul to just never going back before Revolver and just be like, you know what? There's not enough to justify making a super deluxe edition for every single thing.
Here
We
it is.
added a couple things here. We
Right.
cleaned it up. Now let's move on to like a new era of whatever it is Christmas products we're giving you.
Yeah,
I would be fine with that.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Good, Tone.
that is the hottest take I've ever heard. It's
Yes!
sizzling. It's sizzling. That is sizzling. No. I don't. I get what you're saying. If they had given us
Expanded
the best of the outtakes of the Please Please Me to Rubber Soul era on this, then it probably would have been okay.
Yes.
As far as I don't mind if they're going to fill up Sessions albums on deluxe box sets with a pile of shite, then I'm not interested. Why I want the deluxe box set is because I want the stereo remix of the album, the main album.
album.
That is the most important thing to me, and I think that if it's a stereo remix, you stick in the mono of that album as well, because people still want the mono albums, because not everyone managed to get a box. People still want the mono albums. Stick the stereo album, the mono album, and maybe one LP of sessions that are good, and a book. That's fine for a deluxe box set. You don't have to have disc after disc after disc when it's diminishing returns, when they're giving you an instrumental of a song where it's actually just the finished song with the vocal taken off. That's no value whatsoever. That's
a good take. I agree with that, Kyle. If they had expanded the anthologies to give us the best of that period from Please Please Me to Rubber Soul, I'm happy with not going now. Just give us the proper remixes. To Tony's point, we want the albums remixed.
I like both these ideas,
but we don't need to have 15 takes of If I Fell or whatever. Just give us the best of this period.
Give us the best takes you got. You got on and that'll do. We don't need to have the terrible takes where they've, singing out of tune or it's falling to pieces or whatever. Just the best complete take of a song, that you've got. That's great. And that'll be great.
I think that Apple and the Beatles are onto that, because what projects and albums have they been pushing since 2017? The glory period, right? From Pepper on. Right, they went back and gave us Revolver, but they're not quick to rush out anything else. Why? This is why.
And this would have been the perfect opportunity. To do it.
But they just don't have to be as comprehensive as the ones
as a Bob Dylan.
Well, even the ones that they've put out so far, because
I see what you mean.
They've been really comprehensive because they've had plenty of outtakes. If they haven't got plenty of outtakes, don't make that a reason not to put out a deluxe box set. Just give us the remixed album, give us the mono album, give us a book. That's fine.
Oh give us mono.
Totally content with that.
Yeah,
fine, done with that.
But the other gripe that I've got about this release is the laziness of it. Not just the fact that they haven't remixed it, but if you're going to expand this thing, right? Anthology tells a story, and to have this extra disc at the end, where it's not chronological, doesn't tell that story. So, for new fans, for Gen Zs that are discovering the Beatles, this is going to make Anthology 4 is going to make no sense.
No sense.
It's going to make no sense to them.
Like I said,
I want to know the story. Then, If I Fell, the outtake of If I Fell that they're putting in there needs to be on Anthology 1, in the Hard Day's Night period. That's
expanded anthology and rebranded one. It would make much more sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they're kind of between a rock and a hard place there. I agree with you ultimately, but do you think that people would have been so upset if you add in enough tracks in between, and now a track that you're so used to being this was on my precious Anthology 2 CD, now it's pushed to Anthology 3 or something?
Yeah, but they've still got their precious Anthology 2 CD, haven't they?
True. Sure.
I don't think that would be
But I think the Beatles might be viewing it. It's like it would be almost like are you expanding to them? The anthology albums are as canon, just like Pepper and Revolver are. They're not going to ever tweak the main sequencing on those albums. They're not going to do that with anthology, even though we think that they probably could. They're not going to do that.
No, but I don't know. Do they count as canon? I don't know.
They're not. I mean, look at it. They've tacked on Volume 4 and they've left 1, 2, and 3 alone. Clearly, they think that they're canon.
Yeah, I just think that was a mistake, and it kind of defeats the purpose of anthology to tell that story, that progression.
Yeah.
You get to the end of the Abbey Road or the Let It Be tracks, and then like the next thing you hear is take 2 of I Saw Her Standing There.
I know.
It doesn't make sense.
Well,
it's lazy. It's lazy, and I think for future generations, I think that anthology needs to be chronological.
So let me know if this is kind of like a summary of the most basic criticism of this release, okay? Or really overall analysis.
Yeah.
We're excited for Peter Jackson's work, that it's the new remaster will kind of give us a reason to rewatch this very long but awesome documentary. Extra footage at the end, that's kind of the most exciting new thing. Then the other stuff is just kind of a rehash. Aside from what Mr. Syrett told us, we'll see. And then ultimately there's 13 new tracks for like $400.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, this is a missed opportunity. Like, Merry Christmas. Thanks.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, the remaster will sound better than the old anthology. That, let's make no mistake about that. It will sound better, but not as good as it could have done with a remix. But
Gotcha.
it will sound better. Are we going to talk about the elephant there?
No, but I think about the remixing. Let's talk about the tracks, the Free as a Bird and Real Love that have been remixed by Jeff Lynne, not Giles Martin, which I think was a nice touch to let him do it with that technology. Free as a Bird is out there now. And I guess this is a great talking point. I've seen a lot of comments on social media where people like it, but they kind of like John's ghostly phasing effect that's on the original 1995 mix that you don't really hear now on the 2025 remix. It's very clean, and they've used the mouth to make it much more cleaner. Kyle, Tony, what do you guys think about that?
Tony, take it.
Okay, so I do quite like that ghostly feel on his voice on the 1995 mix, but I have been gagging for this song to be remixed, and I totally get the sentimental aspect of giving it to Jeff Lynne to remix, because he is the producer. But I would have liked Giles to do it as well, and maybe they did. I don't know, but maybe they would have got a completely different sound. I wouldn't have minded having both versions, one remixed by Jeff and one by Giles, and that would have been interesting to compare, because I'm not a massive fan. I like Jeff Lynne, but I'm not a massive fan of his production techniques. I don't like the way the drums are so flabby sounding. I don't like that, and acoustic guitar's very high up in the mix, and that kind of Wilbury sound. I'm not mad about that production technique. That's not to say that Giles hasn't made mistakes as well, but I probably would have liked to see Giles remix it, but I do understand the sentimental value of letting Jeff Lynne do it.
Giles trademark bass and drums up. Kyle, your take.
I agree. I appreciate the sentimental value of it, but another thing that's interesting about these re-releases, box sets, etc., is that sometimes when a producer has like a super distinct sound, and Jeff Lynne definitely falls in that category, the second, this anniversary edition is usually a chance to like de-producer it. Like for Dylan, Time Out of Mind was like Daniel Lanois, or obviously All Things Must Pass was like Phil Spectored, and hearing what was like actually there. So it's kind of like, okay, so we have like the same guy 30 years later, just what is, what's he doing different, just using the modern technology. I definitely miss the ghostly aspect of it, even for having not known it as long as other people. But I think the main shortcoming here is like I'm so used to getting a new remix, especially John's solo stuff, and you get that vocal right in the front.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's just like I haven't listened to it enough yet, but I feel like you can tell it's cleaned up, but then kind of like the thrashy like guitars and stuff are a little too loud in the sides, and it's kind of like still burying John's vocals. And I was like, was 30 years of technological progress for nothing? Like, I want to hear John slap me in the face with his vocal. Where is this?
Yeah,
it's a bit unbalanced, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the little bits of guitar, George's guitar, that I'm hearing now on this new remix that I didn't hear before, didn't know they were there before because they were buried. But one thing about this is that the vocal has always been really weak, and it's not a powerful vocal. I think the vocal on Real Love is much better, and I think when we hear the remix of the full Real Love song, the Real Love song,
real love.
the Real Love song, the remix of that, I think we're going to love that, because I think that John's vocal is much stronger on that song than it is on Free as a Bird. So it's always a little bit weak, but Jeff Lynne smothered it in reverb to try and fatten it up a little bit.
It's like a dynamics issue, though. I feel like you
listen, buddy of mine called it sounds like a Cloud 9 bonus track.
Yeah.
See, I would love to hear Cloud 9 de-linified.
Yeah, but you would have thought that the demo that they used for Now and Then was probably much worse than the demos for Real Love and Free as a Bird.
I think so. I think
because it had that buzz, because it had that buzz to it. And when you think what they managed to do with that vocal using the mouth technology, you would have thought, even though John's vocal is fairly weak on Free as a Bird, you still think that they would have been able to do something a little bit better with it when you compare with what they did with Now and Then, which arguably would have been a worse demo to start off with.
So let's do a quick hot take. What is the most successful of these kind of reunion songs now? Is Now and Then clearly the benchmark winner in your guys' eyes, or does Free as a Bird or Real Love take the cake still?
I don't know if are we saying which is the best song,
which is the best one,
or which one's is the most successful remix or mix? Then
yes,
because we haven't really heard Real Love in its entirety.
Where would you?
We heard a snippet of it.
We heard a snippet of it,
and it sounded great. It'll
be interesting to see where these songs rank now that Now and Then's out there with these remixes of Free as a Bird and Real Love. What do you guys think? Based on what we know.
Well, Now and Then probably the most successful as far as the general public goes, because it got to number 1 in the UK, and I think in Germany the others didn't.
Yeah, it's hard to compete. It's hard to compete just because Real Now and Then has more of a prolonged story to it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, George couldn't be there, that takes a massive hit. But also just the idea of using this tech to come back to it after almost 30 years.
Yeah. Now and Then also had the benefit of streaming as well to get it to number 1. So the others didn't have that.
Tony, I gotta ask you something. Before you asked about an elephant in the room, what is? I don't understand. What is?
Well, the elephant in the room is the thing that everybody is quite rightly complaining about, and that is the fact that you can't buy any of these volumes individually.
No,
because and I just think that is an appalling way for Apple to treat their loyalist fans, loyalist. Let's call them customers.
Sure.
They're loyalist customers, people that have supported this band for 60 years, and they are asking us to pay £300 for one album that we haven't got, that's got 13 new tracks on it. It would
have been insulting to ask them to pay like $40 for just a Anthology 4 with their only 13 new tracks.
I would have paid $40. Once I knew that there wasn't a remix, I would have paid whatever it was for Anthology 4, and I would have added that to my collection.
But I'm saying even that's not so generous, even that is
no, but it's just
it would have been better.
It's just really mean spirited, and I don't think it's in the spirit of the Beatles.
It's not. But now look at somebody like Kyle's. Like, I don't have to spend $400 on this. I'll hear the 13 new tracks the day it comes out on Spotify. No problem.
Yeah, that's it. Right. But we're old school, and we want to own this stuff.
Right.
Well, actually, I disagree a little bit, Andy. I think true. In any case, I probably would stream it on Apple Music first thing. But for someone like me, I never went around to buying a physical copy of Anthology. I don't think that they're like prohibitively expensive, but I'm sure they're like probably like a good price on it. You're like
the price is today is a good price for 12 LPs. It's today's price. It's
$30 for an LP.
In fact, it's probably a little bit cheaper for 12 LPs. We live in a world of the £30 album here. So 12 3.
So if I was more
360 quid, you would expect it to be, but it's 320, and that's with the cards. If you buy it from Amazon, it's probably about 300. So
if I was more into Anthology, I probably would be like, oh, this is kind of like the mono box set where like I missed the chance to get it then, and now I can get it. But the thing is, and I hope that the Beatles go this direction. I don't know exactly how. I think the mono box set was so impactful, and everybody was so excited about it because the physicalness of it mattered. The fact that it was like mono vinyl mixes. It really feels like, is my experience going to be any different by listening to the Decca auditions on streaming or vinyl?
Right. Is it going to change that much? And I don't think it's going to. And so I respect your decision not to get this. And I'm going to be fully honest. I have not pre-ordered it yet because I don't need to yet. I'll wait.
So the last. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. No, I'm just.
One more thing. I thought that you said I thought the elephant in the room was going to be where the Star Club tapes. No one was expecting that. Anthology 0.
Where are the what tapes?
The Star Club tapes.
Oh, the Star Club tapes. Oh no, I wasn't expecting the Star Club tapes. I wasn't. Because I don't know. Peter Jackson owns them for a start, and I don't know how far he is with his remix job or cleaning up job, and we don't know whether Apple are even interested in buying them. They've never.
Well, again, I think if they've never been interested
in them before, have they?
Yeah, I mean, again, it just goes to my point earlier. If they were truly interested in like expanding this would have been a great place to put them. Again, that's like my framework that I made up.
But not the whole thing. Maybe 2 or 3 tracks from it.
That would have been a great way to enhance it.
Well,
but I am really, I am really disappointed with Apple for doing this. It's really, really mean-spirited.
Do we think Volume 4 will come out on its own in a year or two's time?
Yeah, probably, and then it'll be like the BC13 box back in '78 which had the Rarities album in it, and people bought the box set, and then a year later Rarities came out on its own. That'll probably piss off people more.
Yeah.
I could see them doing that.
I'm pretty sure that they will do that. I'm pretty sure that they will do that. But
I just wonder how involved like Donnie and is it Donnie or Danny? Danny and Sean and Yoko, Olivia. How involved are they in something like this?
I don't know.
Because you have Sean and Yoko. I feel like we have them to thank for these amazing box sets we get for Lennon.
Absolutely.
But it's
well,
like,
listen, this
it's
is
like-
this, and we also don't know, is this the last project of Jeff Jones or the first project of Tim Green? This,
Tom
obviously,
Green.
this,
Tom
you know,
Green.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Tom Green, not Tim Green. Yeah.
I think, because these things don't happen overnight. This has been in the pipeline for months and months and months. If
So
not,
it probably was.
years.
Yeah. So
you would hope that Apple have got a roadmap for several years ahead.
They do.
A company like the size of Apple would have a roadmap. So this has been planned probably for 2 or 3 years, I would have thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it makes you want, it boggles the mind on what we think about, marketing and why, and trying to give, because the Beatles have always been about, value for the fans, right? Going back to the 60s, value for the fans, not ripping them off. Singles were made separately. They weren't included on albums. And this is just this one is a big tough pill to swallow. If you want that fourth volume, you've got to shell out about $400 to get it now. And if you're not going to stream it, it does suck. It does.
It is. It does. It's awful.
But we'll have to wait and see for that until we get to November. We've got that. I think the video portion of this project is going to be the crown jewel because it's going to look better. And we've got an extra episode to sink our teeth into it, and 13 tracks. I mean, that's the best part of it. The 1, 2, 3 remasters, meh. But the 4K upgrade and the 9th episode of what's going to be, it's probably going to be what most of us diehards dive into first when this comes out.
I'm hoping that the nice shiny new show on Disney Plus is going to win the fan base back, because at the moment there is just so much negativity about how Apple are running things, and they seriously need to get back on the horse as far as these super deluxe box set, album centric box sets, and get away from these random releases that they've done for the last 3 years. That's my opinion.
We're far away from the Revolver Super.
We are. We're 3 years.
We did
away from
Red
it.
and Blue, and then the US ones. It was like, okay, it took me a while to come around to, and I ended up appreciating the historical nature of it, but I was still like not going to get it.
Yeah.
So
Beatles 64, more Talking Heads.
I mean, all the things that they've done have had their good points. So,
and we're gonna tackle this properly on another episode of Hands Across the Water when we talk about Apple as a whole, what they've given us from '94 now, and it's a lot, because a lot of people like to just beat up on them, but they have given us a lot, and that's going to be a future episode of our show. But I mean, you look at the last couple of years, as you guys just illustrated, some of these projects have been like, the 64 doc. I mean, that was 8 days a week 2.0. I mean, come on, it was not something that that satisfied the hardcore fan base. So before we close it out, Beatly Tone, Kyle, any final hot takes before we sign off?
No, not really. Not really. I think I've said everything I want to say, to be honest.
I think just looking forward to the future, I think that we are embarking on an exciting, intriguing new chapter in box set history. Okay, because now the box sets are getting box sets. That's kind of like what this is.
Yeah.
And so I was talking about 1.0 being anthology, then 2.0 being these super deluxe album editions, but now everything, not everything, but most of it is kind of out there. So is this kind of the end of that prior era, and what will the future box sets have for us? Will they totally whiff it and just give us rehashed bullcrap we don't want? Will it be the most interesting decade of Beatles history and make you thankful you're alive now? It really remains to be seen. It might have to do with the new leadership. It might have to do with changing consumer habits. But I'm happy to have
let's look at it.
Buddies.
Yeah, no, I think you're on to something there. I mean, there is a new CEO now. Paul and Ringo are, in their mid 80s now, and they're not slowing down. But what does the 20 to 25 year outlook look like for Apple, and what's coming down the pike? As we talked about at the fest. I mean, what is it going to be? I mean, it's all going to come out, but eventually, what sustains past our lifetimes? and what remains, and what is that going to be? I mean, it's going to end at some point, but it's not quite done yet. So,
Yeah. I mean, I hope that when Tom Green walks through that door on the 1st of September or whatever day in September it is he's starting his role, he goes through that office like a whirlwind and shakes it up, because they have seriously lost their way. They have lost their way. And I hope the first thing he does is he fires whoever's idea it was to only make Anthology available in a box set.
You heard it here. You heard it here, gang. That's there's a hot take from Beatly Tone. So we can wind down. I want to thank my partners there, Beatly Tone and The Hand, for a lively discussion on all things current and Beatles. I mean, yes, we do deep dives and we do, we curate playlists and we take dives into all the solo stuff, but we had to jump on here and give our multi-generational take on what this anthology project means here to all of us. And let us know in the comments below who you agree with. Is it The Hand? Is it the leg? Or is it the man over across the water there in the UK? Do let
the toe.
The Tone. Do let us know below. So for my co-hosts Kyle Hand and Beatly Tone, this is Andy Nicholes signing off for this installment of A Hands Across the Water. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Anthologize you later.